Hi, my name is JD Kositamadu. One of the biggest problems on this Blue app is comprehension. You will take your time to write and rewrite so that people will understand your point of view. But I've noticed that even if Professor Wole Soyinka helps you to edit it, there will always be that one person that will read it and understand it upside down. A few hours ago, I made a simple post directed at intending couples, and a few folks have managed to misinterpret and misrepresent my view. Now, this is what I said, and I stand by it. If you are courting, you intend to get married, and you are both AS, as in your genotype, God has already spoken. You already know the outcome. If there's an issue of the Osu caste system and other man-made traditional issues, especially with Ndibo, God has already spoken. You already know the outcome. If there is already physical and emotional abuse, my dear, God has spoken. You already know the outcome. You already know God's will. Stop looking for and don't allow for any man or woman of God to make you commit to a stressful future. It is not God's will for you to knowingly bring forth a child or children who will suffer untold pains for their lifetime. This is why God made the discovery of genotype very possible. It will amount to selfishness and wickedness on your part to go ahead because I love him, I love her. If you have ever been around a child in crisis and know the pain that they go through, you will love that person from afar and go and find someone else to marry. If you know the emotional and financial implications, brother, you control yourself. It is not God's will either for you to suffer a lifetime of rejection, abuse, and deprivation from one family or kindred because they have labeled you an outcast. And certainly, it is not God's will for you to become a punching bag for one insecure, controlling, egoistic and cowardly spouse. You know what? Nigeria still doesn't know how to determine the real causes of death. They can claim you fell in the bathroom, and that's it. Shikena, investigation concluded. Okmari, ogulak. Bottom line, God does not always speak from the clouds above. He speaks with practical things that we can see. Now, any logical person will see that concerning the outcast issue, my concern was for the one being labeled as an Osu. That was clear enough when I said in my post that it is not God's will for you to suffer a lifetime of rejection, abuse, and deprivation from one family or kindred because you are labeled an outcast. I did not advise anyone not to marry anyone because they are labeled Osu. These are two different things. Hey, my post is not about the Osu caste system. I cannot change it. That is beyond a single person's efforts. All I can do is speak and act against it and protect people from getting into the things that will make it have effect on them. I'm aware that many Igbo communities are putting things in place to remove it, but it is still there. My post is about that young person who has been branded an Osu. My take is that you do not go ahead with that marriage. The initial post was necessitated by something that happened recently. A dear daughter in the faith came that I might pray because her fiance's family had gone to dig up stuff, claiming that her own family were outcasts. My response was simple. I will not advise you to go ahead with this marriage. She began to cry. My reason is simple. In Nigeria, we don't just marry our spouses. We marry their family, we marry their community, the whole village. This is an African thing. And being born again and being westernized doesn't affect that. We are stuck with it. Now, wouldn't it be unreasonable to insist on marrying into a family that already thinks you do not belong there? Who in his, or her right senses will advise his sister, brother, daughter, or son to insist on getting into such a family, hoping that they will be accepted with time? Listen, even if the family comes to terms with it, what about the Umunna? What about the community? What about the village? I assure you, you don't want someone you care about to be in that situation. Many people have gone through hell simply because one family or the other think that their son or their daughter has married below their status. My counsel, a broken engagement is much better than a lifetime of rejection and ridicule. I want to reiterate it here. If you have been subjected to the outcast scrutiny, whether you are a male or female, during the preliminary marriage rites, I don't advise you to force your way into that marriage, no matter how much you love the person. Now, this is not about whether the caste system is right or wrong. I detest it, but if you find yourself in a family that believes in and adheres to such, you will live to regret it. The disdain will trickle down to your children and your grandchildren. Don't ever forget, it is not everyone that has received Christ and that knows the redemptive power of Christ. Listen to me. Faith comes with wisdom. If you're already experiencing backhand slap and other forms of abuse before the marriage, if she's already breaking television from that your bae or boo, let me tell you, run. Ogologo quadra no kambode. Now I can understand that some of you are too spiritual to pause a little and think. Well, not too long from now, you will see that it is not faith to see danger and walk into it just to prove God. Sometimes seeing the danger ahead is the actual miracle. Daniel did not wake up one morning and decide, I will go into the lion's den today. Situations and circumstances and people put him there. David did not leave the house that morning saying, today I'm going to fight and kill a giant. Situations and circumstances put him there. Joseph certainly didn't put himself in prison or in the pit so that he can become prime minister later. Listen, if you unknowingly or inevitably find yourself in a situation, be rest assured that Jehovah Sabaoth has gone ahead of you. If God has asked you to, now listen to that again. If now God tell you to enter danger zone, please by all means enter. Me, I didn't hear him with you. But brother, sister, if it is just to prove to people that your faith is bigger than their own, receive sense today. The Bible says in Proverbs 22 verse 3, it says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. It is called tempting the Lord thy God. Don't push and don't put God to the test. Jumping off a high rise or a cliff to see if angels will rescue you is utter foolishness. It is taking undue chances with the grace and mercy and the goodness of our God. It's like living dangerously. Now hear this. Hear this. Before that next move, before starting that new business venture, before marrying that love of your life, before, I said before, be like David. The Bible says, so David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? And the Lord might just say to you like he said to David, go up, for I will doubtless deliver the Philistines into your hands. 2 Samuel chapter 5 verse 19. Yes, then and only then is he committed to prove his integrity. Now, by the way, this is just an advice. And you know what you can do with advice. Yes, you can either take it or leave it. Shalom.